I did forget. I don't want to make that mistake again. So, for those who are new, my name is Stacy. I am a nonprofit consultant and I serve small to mid-sized nonprofit organizations. What I mean by that is nonprofits that are making at least 50,000 in revenue up to 5 million in revenue. I help them grow their impact and revenue generation potential through strategic planning and capacity building. Now, for those who don't know what capacity building is basically how well your nonprofit is able to handle certain things and how well it does things, right? So capacity can look different for many nonprofits. It can be the human capital that you have, the knowledge and skills that your organization has. So it can look different for different organizations depending on what you need. So oftentimes when funders are trying to know if your organization has the capacity to do things, they want to know if you have the staff, if you have the training, if you have the skills necessary to be able to do the work that you're saying you want to do. So that's one thing I help nonprofits with. So leadership training, whatever type of training you're looking for, definitely. That is something I help my clients with. Hey, Naveed, you are on Instagram. Hi, nice to see you. And so, yeah, that's what I do in a nutshell. So if you have any questions about that or want to dive deeper into that, please send me a DM so we can talk about how I can support your nonprofit organization. But then with that said, I'm going to get into the topic because today's Friday and I got some things going on, so I want to make sure I'm able to provide you as much resources as possible. So today we're going to talk about how to stop overcomplicating fundraising and take the stress away from it, because the easiest way to raise money in a nonprofit organization, it might not be what you think, and no, it's not another grant. Because getting grants is really dependent on so many things and it's restricted funding. So you need to be able to fundraise for your organization. That means generate revenue for your nonprofit organization where it is able to make an impact in the community in the way it's supposed to. So, and I meet too many nonprofits that are making fundraising way harder than it needs to be. Because at the end of the day, you are a business. I know a lot of nonprofits don't like hearing that. In the same way that business owners have to generate revenue, it's the same way for nonprofits. And you just have to embrace it and see it as a non-negotiable for it to become normal. So definitely something I want you to look into and really understand that concept and to stop overthinking, every campaign that you have going for your nonprofit organization and not wasting months crafting the perfect grant proposal because you're just not doing what you're supposed to, okay? And also, I find too many nonprofit leaders are avoiding making direct ask because they're scared of rejection. Now, if you don't make the ask, then you already assume that's a rejection right there. But if you make the ask, I say this all the time. If you make the ask, it's a 50-50 chance, a 50-50 probability at this point. Yes, no. If you make no ask, it's 100% no, because you did not ask. So that is the level of simplicity I want to bring to you fundraising. You have to rip the Band-Aid and stop making it complicated, but people are too afraid. And that's the point that I want to make is like people are too afraid of rejection that they're not actually asking for the things that are necessary to fundraise. Because then I'll be honest, like I am a member of a philanthropic organization, and our goal is to raise money for the organization. And I'm networking all the time. So today in a meeting, I was shooting my shot. Like I literally asked the person, hey, can your company or can your corporation like sponsor this organization? Like send me the information, I'll find out. Like sometimes you just have to ask. If you don't ask, you won't know. So I want you to stop overcomplicating fundraising and really use the network you have and start expanding your network and start having these conversations, because these conversations are easier than you think. If you start building relationships with the individuals that you are meeting and networking with, it takes the ickiness out of it. Like, it's really not as icky as you think. It's really not as complicated as you think. If you're asking or fundraising and asking people for money, what's wrong with that? Because then you're the one who vilified money, not the other person, because a lot of people expect to be asked for something. And if they have a corporation or organization and they have a corporate social responsibility program, it is your responsibility to ask that corporation to support the work that you're doing. If you don't do that, you're doing a disservice to the communities you're serving. So you got to get out of your feelings and actually ask for the money. Your job is to fundraise for your organization so you can actually start making an impact. But if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're wasting your community's time because you're not actually supporting them in the way they're supposed to be supported. So what happens when you fail to do that? You raise little to no money, right? You're stuck in a cycle of waiting for grants that never come because you were too afraid to ask for $10,000 from a corporation that probably would have given you $20,000 if you asked, but you're stuck in that cycle of waiting for the grants because that feels comfortable, right? And you are also burnt out trying to pull off big, complicated fundraising events that barely break even. Because then the one thing with fundraising events, they cost money. You don't know how to ask for sponsorships. You don't know how to ask for money, but you want to throw events and try to put 2 cents together to have a great event, only to end up owing more money for this event than actually bringing money for that event. Because the work that's needed to generate money at these fundraising events, you refuse to do, which is building the relationships. So building the relationships will do a few things for your organization. It will enable you to have this relationship with different stakeholders where you're able to ask them to support your cause, support your mission, support the work that you're doing. But if you're not doing this work, then how is any fundraising event you're putting together ever going to be successful? Because the successful events that I've seen are the events that people have a relationship with the host, right? People have, like, they intimately engage with the host all the time with that organization, understand the work that the organization is doing. So when they go to the events, they have fun, right? They have fun and they're willing to part with that money. Relationships, yes, they are. Relationships will, Ricky, good point. Relationships are money cycles for life. So if you're building these relationships, you'll be able to secure funds from stakeholders that you're building relationships with, because it's just that it's a relationship that they feel comfortable giving to your cause, the nonprofit's cause, because they understand what you're doing and you took the time to engage with them periodically, maybe not all the time, but you're consistent with it. So it takes the hard out of fundraising, because fundraising is not supposed to be hard, right? It's not about having a massive audience. It's not having a fancy marketing strategy or even the perfect grant writer. It's about consistent, simple actions, right? That bring predictable revenue to your nonprofit organization. Because if you have a plan on how many partnerships or relationships your organization is supposed to have, and you're consistent in sharing this information. Like, I know there's one nonprofit that I build partnerships with. The one of the executive leaders all the time on LinkedIn is posting about the relationships that he's building, right? He's posting pictures, the work they're doing, and how he's able to do XYZ. That able of transparency where people can see it, and the consistency level, that's what matters, right? Because people understand that this is not a one and done. Like, you're going to be consistent with your actions, with the relationship building. And that helps bring in predictable revenue, because when you do that and you're consistent with it and you reach out to the person and ask them to donate or to even like support a cause that you're passionate about, they are less resistant and they actually trust you enough where they're going to do that because it makes sense. So let's take the hard out of fundraising by taking consistent action. Now, another thing that I want to bring to your attention is that overthinking is going to kill your momentum, and I need you to stop overthinking about it and just take the action. Just do it. Like, it does not, if you do it, what's going to happen? Like, is there a real threat to your life that's happening if you ask someone for something that you've never done before? Because if you don't ask, are you losing anything? Are you going to get sick? Are you going to go to a deep slumber and not wake up? No. So stop overthinking and actually make the ask, because overthinking, like I said, is going to kill your momentum. Momentum, right? And simple strategies are going to work best. So you're going to have to like just maybe prep yourself, know what you're going to ask for, be very clear. Your messaging has to be clear. So I want you to be very clear about that. And we're going to look at some numbers right now in terms of taking action. Recurring donors, I know every day I give you some stats. So I want you to take these stats and really like understand and be objective about this and realize where you're failing or what you need to fix, because it's going to make a difference. Okay. So recurring donors are 440% more valuable than one-time donors. So what does that mean? What that means is that you need to start building, um, and you need to start engaging with existing donors, recurring donors, a little bit more to ensure that you retain your donors, because donor retention is something that your nonprofit needs to take more seriously and not be always chasing new donors, because donor retention, it is undervalued, but you have more of a chance of raising more money with recurring donors than spending a lot of time and energy trying to get new one-time donors. So that engagement, that's something that you need to be very strategic about. And you need to have a plan and strategy of how you're going to ensure that you retain your donors. Do you have a way to keep them informed? Do you have a communication standard operating procedure for existing recurring donors? Like, what are you doing to ensure that you're retaining these donors? Okay. And the other thing is that donors give 42% more when asked for smaller, consistent contributions rather than large one-time asks. So if you have a recurring donor and let's say they donate $50 a month, $25 a month, or maybe even ask them, hey, we've noticed that you give a lot to our organization, and this is the work that we've been doing, and this is the impact your support has been making. Would you consider becoming a recurring donor? And these are the benefits and whatever, and shoot your shot. Okay. Make the ask and see if they will sign up to our recurring donor campaign that you have. And that will make sure that you have consistent funds coming through that's unrestricted. Okay, it's not a grant. So, and not only that, when your organization has a structured donor outreach plan, you're going to be able to see 2.5 times more engagement than those that do not. Okay, because engagement increases if you have a structured donor outreach plan. So you need to make sure that that's something that you're securing or creating within your organization to ensure that it is consistent and you have more engagement with your donors. All right, so what that will mean for you is that even if you're small, a small nonprofit, you'll be able to, and your repeatable fundraising efforts will be able to raise more money over time than chasing one big payday. Because then that consistent action over time may be able to produce more funds in the long run than just that one event that you have in November to fundraise, or that one crab feed that you have in February that probably will raise more. Okay. So the question I always ask myself is, why do so many nonprofits ignore simple fundraising strategies? And one thing that I've come to realize is that oftentimes people think complicated means better and it feels safer for them, because if it's too easy, then something's wrong. So they're always chasing complicated. So a lot of like leaders, nonprofits, even professionals, career professionals, when they see a simple concept, right? They think that it means it doesn't work. And I want you to take that out of your mind. It's not complicated, it's just consistent work, and you might not be comfortable with it because you've never done it before, but you have to be very consistent in asking for funds and creating a list of donors that you can reach out to. And there's a reason, like in my nonprofit funding quick fix, that's part of the action plan. Make a list, like you have templates, and you reach out to these people. Like I give you an action plan to follow because simple is the way to go. Like complicated, right? where you have these different steps to follow, that's overwhelming, and it makes it too difficult to reach a level of sustainability that you're trying to get. So I need you to stop overcomplicating it and really like reach out to people and make the ask. Okay. So instead of making $10 ask from 100 people, right? That's only what, $1,000. Like instead of making $10 ask from 100 people, you need to spend time building relationships and making, like, maybe you have some people that can only make $10 donations, but also being willing to build relationships with people that are in circles that can contribute to your nonprofit and making bigger ask. Okay. And getting people to do recurring donations. If they're making a $10 contribution or a $25 contribution, see if it can be a recurring donation. Because then $10 or $25 over 12 months, 25 over 12 months should be what? 600? I think that's the math. Let me do it on paper since my phone is busy. 0.55. That's 300. So 25 over 12 months is 300. So imagine you're able to get $300 over a year from one person, and they were making $25 donations over 12 months. So that's 300. Imagine 100 people donated 300. Imagine. So 100, 300, like $300 over a year from 100 people, that's 30,000. You see where I'm going? So if you're going to take effort and time from asking for that, you have to have a strategy in place. So these small asks can become bigger asks where it's becoming recurring and it makes sense. Okay, because then if you spend 6 months writing a grant application that might get funded, because it's not guaranteed, because too many people out here are thinking because they have a grant writer, right? The grant's gonna get funded. That doesn't guarantee it, because the grant writer is not the one reviewing the grant application, because the reviewer on the back end may not like your proposal. The grant writer puts on paper the vision of the nonprofit organization, and the grant reviewer reviews it to see if it makes sense and if that's something they want to fund. Because then oftentimes people forget the grants that you're applying for, the funder wants to see some type of alignment with the work that they're doing or their mission. So if your project doesn't align with their priorities, they probably don't care. Okay. So it's not the grant writer's fault. Just you can control that. So I really want you to start focusing more on your other fundraising efforts, whether or not like you're trying to get sponsorships and contracts. You have to make it less complicated so it becomes less of a hassle for your nonprofit. So set up the monthly giving program instead of like hosting one huge gala every year. That's going to take time and resources. Make it consistent, right? And make it in a way that you are still getting paid or generating revenue on a consistent basis instead of one time per year. Because the problem isn't that people don't want to give. The problem is that nonprofits are not making it easy for them to give. They're not giving them a reason to want to give. They're not consistent enough with sharing the work that they're doing or making people associate with what they're doing to actually want to care. Okay. So, one thing I don't want you to have wrong about fundraising, you don't have to wait for big money, and you can collect small wins over time because, like I was showing you, if one person or if 100 people were part of your recurring donor campaign and they donated $25 per month, that's $30,000. Okay, 30,000. So let's say fundraising goal, you have a goal of getting 100 people into your recurring giving campaign, giving at least $25 per month. That's $30,000, 300 people, $300 each. Okay. So think about that and start thinking of how you can have smaller wins that contribute to the bigger picture, because too many organizations or too many leaders are operating in a all or nothing mindset because they don't think they can land the 50K grant or 5-figure donors. Their efforts aren't worth it, but the reality is 88% of donations under $1,000 are under $1,000. So figure out what your plan is and like have an action plan of how you're going to get donations at that level over time and what your plan is for that, because you want to make sure that you're following a structured plan so you're not burning yourself out and you're automating a lot of the work that you're doing to generate that revenue. Okay. Because monthly givers contribute at least over 3 times more annually than one-time donors. Because then imagine one-time donor of $25, but if they were monthly, at $300 instead of 25. So really consider putting the monthly option on your campaign page, or maybe even having a link specific to that to encourage people to donate on a monthly recurring basis. And also think about peer-to-peer fundraising, because that can generate 30% of a nonprofit's revenue, but that requires that you are communicating and engaging with your donors on a consistent basis to ensure that they are invested in the work that you do. So stop looking for big checks, because you can be missing out on the smaller, steady contribution that are going to lead to sustaining your nonprofit. Because not everybody has it like you think. They can do something smaller, right? Because then if a person can do $25 per month, that's not a bad thing. Some people can do 100 because some folks maybe their kids just left the nest and they want to do something um, bigger for their community. They want to support and make the ask. Okay, make the ask. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to make it. So you have to set up a monthly giving program with a simple, clear ask. So something as small as $10 per month from 100 people, or $25 per month from 100 people, can create consistent revenue without fundraising stress. That's one way you can fix that off rip. Now, the other thing is you need to stop over complicating your donor ask, because simplicity is going to work best in this case. Like, stop making it hard for people to give. So stop sending people long, wordy donation appeals that donors don't read, because chances are, for some reason, people don't read anymore. People get upset. Hey, Danielle, how are you? Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, #live if you're catching me live. So yeah, these long, wordy donation appeals can go over people's head because people get 1,001 emails in one day and they don't want to read it. So just make it clear and easy for people to read. Only ask for money once or twice a year. Make sure other communications are sharing stories or your impact and only ask for money once or twice a year because you do not want to overwhelm people with appeals throughout the year. Okay, as a nonprofit, you want to give more than you ask. Give more, ask less. So share stories, give information, so educate, and just give, okay? And ask only once or twice a year. Now, when you fail to show donors exactly how their contributions are making an impact, they're less likely to want to give again. So, when you're giving, make sure you're sharing the stories with people that gave and also call them and tell them, hey, we really appreciated that you made this donation. Like, this is what we've been able to do this year, and we wanted to call you and share this with you directly because this made a huge difference. Don't ask for anything, just tell them you wanted to share this with them. Like, I kid you not, it will make a difference, okay? Now, successful fundraising can be simple, make small, consistent donor ask, right? Instead of huge, irregular ones, and use clear, impact-driven strategy, like, or messaging, forgive me. So instead of help us support, families in need, you can say something like your $50 donation feeds a family of four for a week. And maybe you give details about how it can do that, but like give them use messaging that shows a clear impact of their contribution and follow up with them consistently because they're more likely to give again, like I said, if they see the impact of their previous gift. Okay, so if you're not asking regularly, you're essentially leaving money on the table. So start weekly donor appeals with clear, specific asks. And I want you to also stop wasting your time on applying for grants for revenue that you cannot control because you do not control those. So have a grant calendar. I know last year I had a few workshops and classes teaching nonprofits how to use a grant calendar and how to apply for grants, how to use AI or generative AI to ensure that they are writing their grant applications. A lot of people are like, oh, it sounds the same. There's a way to train your AI. And just because you do not understand it does not mean it is it's something you should not use. So I really want you to take your time and understand how to use it or ask questions about it instead of taking everybody's opinion like gold and like it's the best thing since sliced bread. Okay. So remember, grants are great when they come through because not all the grants are going to be approved. So you need to understand that grants are not a financial strategy and it may take weeks or months to prepare for a grant application. It may take months to get a decision from the funders. So you need to have a revenue generating strategy that makes sense and it's able to bring in revenue on a consistent basis. Because if your nonprofit is not bringing in revenue in a consistent basis, on a consistent basis, what happens is that you're not able to do the work you say you're going to do. Okay. And the other thing I want you to remember about grants is that hundreds, if not thousands, of other organizations are competing for the same grant. So it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Okay. And even if you win, it's restricted. There's no other way to say this. It's restricted, meaning you can only use it for specific expenses a lot of times. And if you're just here taking weeks or days or a lot of time applying for 500 to $1,000 grants, it's a waste of your time. Why do I say it's a waste of your time? Because that same energy, you could have sent emails to different corporations and different organizations and donors and building relationships that could have given you maybe 3 times more as much money, but you were trying to protect your comfortability because you don't like asking, right? Instead of actually putting the organization and the mission first. So individual donor fundraising and earned revenue streams are completely within your control. And I want you to focus on those a little bit more. And for the grant calendar, use that to generate revenue in terms of the revenue streams, right? So combine grants in your revenue strategy, create so you can create financial stability, but grants and things like that should not be the only way you're trying to get your organization financially stable, because what happens is you're constantly waiting for funding approval because you're depending on those grants, right? So ways to fix it. I want you to stop wasting hours on grant proposals. Use AI-powered grant writing prompts. I have that on my Stan Store. And also, I encourage people that purchase the AI-powered grant prompts, reach out to me in the DMs, because oftentimes I will give you some other prompts and tips that's not on there. So reach out to me after you purchase it and let me know what you're working on. I'll walk you through it, because me and ChatGPT, my ChatGPT is called Chasey. Me and Chasey have a great relationship, and I understand exactly what to ask her. She knows exactly how I speak and will tell me what I need to focus on. So definitely get the AI-powered grant writing prompts to cut your time in half when it comes to writing your grant applications, so you can focus on building other revenue streams, because that's the goal here. You want to be focusing on other revenue streams and not just grants. So you can click the link in the comments or in my bio and look for the AI-powered grant writing prompts and cut your time writing grant proposals in half. So that's that. And I always am a proponent for using technology, and that's one way I do that. But the other thing I encourage from nonprofits to do is to stop making it overcomplicated. Like, stop overcomplicating it, right? Because if you're struggling with fundraising, is because you're overthinking. And you can get the nonprofit funding quick fix, which is a mini course with a 5-day action plan. Just rent, repeat, rent, repeat. So you can also get a copy of that. The link is in the comments or in my bio. You will see it's called Nonprofit Funding Quick Fix. It's a mini course, and I walk you through what to do, and you get an action plan. Get to it. So yeah, what I want you to do to win at fundraising, make small, frequent donor ask instead of chasing big one-time donations, right? Set up monthly giving programs to bring in consistent revenue, because then I can't think of the other word I wanted to say. My brain is working overtime right now. And start using technology and AI tools to save time on grant applications so you can focus on direct fundraising. So if you need to streamline the fundraising or the grant applications, grab the AI-powered grant writing prompts. If you're looking for ways to make the ask because you're not sure what to do, get the nonprofit funding quick fix, because there's so many templates to help you on there. And those can help you. So grab them now. They are in my Stan Store, or send me a DM if you have any questions, and let me know if I can do anything to support. That's it for today. I am going to hop off now. If you have any questions for me, let me know. But it was a pleasure being here. And hashtag replay if you're catching the replay, because I want to know who was able to catch this and if you have any questions. So definitely let me know. And enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, y'all. Happy Friday.